Welcome, my friends. Well, there is stunning news coming from Disney today. There is a campaign to fire Bob Iger as the CEO of Disney. When he stepped down in 2020, the Walt Disney Company Chief Executive Officer Bob Iger stood as one of his generation's most beloved and influential CEOs. After 15 years, Iger hand-selected his replacement from within, former chairman of Parks, Experiences, and Products, Bob Chapek. But last November, the Disney board suddenly fired Bob Chapek and brought Bob Iger back as CEO for a 3-year term. And a lot has changed since then. 2 rounds of layoffs. Somewhat disappointing results for parks and movies. And a high-profile feud with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that has resulted in the cancellation of a $1 billion Florida campus for Disney. What does this mean for Disney? What does it mean for the economy? And what does it mean for the future of the United States? But before we get into all of that, please press the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. And before we continue, a word from the sponsor of this video. Today's sponsor is InnerLife.com, creator of the InnerLife STS system. InnerLife STS is a cloud mobile platform for mental health care and its integration with primary medical care. InnerLife STS is designed for assessment, data collection and analytics, documentation, and progress tracking. InnerLife STS creates and composes conceptualized narratives and builds them into professional-grade reports. These reports are designed for use by mental health professionals, primary care physicians, justice system professionals and universities and include mental health assessment reports, mental health treatment reports, and treatment progress reports. And InnerLife STS uses doctor-selected pseudonames for all patients. So, only the healthcare professional knows the patient identity. When Iger left, Disney park fans saw Chapek's previous role as a significant selling point. They hoped for higher quality experiences at Walt Disney World Resort, Disneyland Resort, and Disney parks worldwide. The new Disney CEO pleased Disney fans at first. But after years of watching Disney's falling share prices, pricey political conflict with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and the failure of a multi-million-dollar Star Wars hotel, even Mr. Iger himself couldn't ignore the media fiasco surrounding his protege. He returned as Disney CEO for another 3 years. Despite normally attending company meetings, media interviews, and shareholder calls, Bob Chapek was removed from his position as Disney CEO on the evening of Sunday, November 20, 2022. The Walt Disney Company has remained mostly silent about the ousted executive, who continues making millions in severance from the company in silence. But Iger isn't back for another 15 years. The Disney CEO promised to complete his 3-year term but said he would choose a replacement. Part of his new contract stipulates that he must select and train a replacement, who many will watch closely considering the impact of his last decision. How has Disney CEO Bob Iger performed since his return? Here's what real fans had to say. Walt Disney Animation Studios, Walt Disney World Resort, Disneyland Resort, Marvel, and more have come a long way since Robert Iger replaced Michael Eisner in 2000. With 15 years under his belt, some Disney park fans feel he is the one to bring the Walt Disney Company back from its struggles under Chapek. Iger vowed to listen to fans. In some ways, he delivered. Weeks after Iger's return, Walt Disney World Resort changed its unpopular park hopping rules. Guests can now switch parks at 11 a.m. instead of 2 p.m. Park pass reservations are only required for certain guests on certain days and will all but disappear this summer. And the popular Disney dining plan will make a comeback in 2024. Less has changed at Disneyland Resort, though fans can also park hop at 11 a.m. instead of 1 p.m. but some fans don't mind and blame other executives like Chairman of Parks and Resorts Josh DeMero. It's not like Chapek just sat down and said, "All right, here's my list of stuff you're gonna do," he said. A lot of stuff people are upset over are things that have been in development since Iger's original time and are the product of many decision makers. After all, there's only so much one man can be responsible for, he continued. Better than Chapek but still has his own problems and is doing a standard job as he fights the fights Disney is in right now. Florida, streaming, writers' strike, one Disney fan wrote of Iger. Now, if they could just get back Magical Express, then whoop-de-doo, we'll be in a pretty decent spot in 2024 when dining plan, no reservations for multi-day tickets and maybe even altered Genie Plus probably paid FastPass Plus come along, said another Disney fan. Despite positive changes, most Disney park and film fans are disappointed with Iger's recent decisions. For many, the changes, or lack thereof, aren't enough. I actually really do think Iger is not doing a great job, a popular Reddit user said. Disney is in a lot of financial trouble that appears to be getting worse and worse. He was the one who got the company in massive debt to begin with when he massively overpaid for 20th Century Fox, yet another Reddit user echoed. And changed strategy from making their own movies, franchises to buying IP. So I'm not surprised at all. Some went so far as to ask the Disney CEO to resign immediately. I'm waiting for him to step down as CEO. He makes $45 million a year while some of his employees are forced to go hungry, said yet another fan on Reddit. He had some great acquisitions, but he hasn't done anything incredible since then. Shanghai was his baby, and it's been a consistent underperformer like Hong Kong, the fan continued. The biggest change I want is for him to put in place a successor and not undermine the successor, hopefully by stepping away from the company altogether or as a consultant. But I think his giant ego won't allow that, he also added. Disney has abandoned plans to open up a new employee campus in Lake Nona, Florida, amid rising tensions with the state's governor. Citing changing business conditions and the return of CEO Bob Iger, Josh D'Amaro, chairman of Disney's Parks, Experiences and Products Division, penned a memo to employees Thursday, announcing that the company will not move forward with construction of the campus and will no longer be asking more than 2,000 California-based employees to relocate to Florida. This was not an easy decision to make, but I believe it is the right one, D'Amaro told employees. Many Disney employees balked at the company's relocation plans when they were first announced in July 2021 by former CEO Bob Chapek. While some left the company, or transitioned to other posts within Disney that would not require a move to Florida, others held out hope that the plan would fizzle out after a postponement. The campus was originally slated to open in 2022-2023, but was later delayed to 2026. Disney's announcement comes amid a bitter feud between the company and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The company filed a lawsuit accusing DeSantis and the new board members of its special district of carrying out a campaign of political retribution against the entertainment giant. The special district has allowed the entertainment giant to effectively self-govern its Orlando parks operations for decades. The district was ultimately left intact, but its 5-member board was replaced with DeSantis picks and renamed the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. Disney filed its suit in late April after the new board voted to undo development contracts that the company said it struck to secure its investments. The company has since updated that lawsuit to include newly passed legislation targeting its monorail system as further evidence of retaliation by the governor. Iger has publicly lambasted DeSantis and the Florida government, noting that Disney has created thousands of indirect jobs, brings around 50 million visitors to Florida every year and is the state's largest taxpayer. In a statement later Thursday, representatives for DeSantis called the decision to nix the Lake Nona campus unsurprising. Disney announced the possibility of a Lake Nona campus nearly 2 years ago. Nothing ever came of the project, and the state was unsure whether it would come to fruition, DeSantis' office said in the statement. D'Amaro reiterated in his memo that the company still plans to invest $17 billion in Florida over the next 10 years, including the addition of around 13,000 jobs. The company currently employs more than 75,000 people in the state. Disney declined to provide specific updates on that investment, but has previously announced plans to update park attractions, expand existing parks and add more cruise ships to its fleet in Florida. I remain optimistic about the direction of our Walt Disney World business, D'Amaro told employees. As you know if you follow this channel, Disney has announced thousands of layoffs. The latest layoffs were initially announced in February and will impact about 7,000 employees, according to a memo sent by Iger. The job cuts will be cross-company, hitting Disney's media and distribution division, parks and resorts, and ESPN. Since returning as CEO, Iger has reorganized the company and acknowledged that he'd consider selling Hulu. The layoffs are part of a broader effort to reduce corporate spending and boost free cash flow. Disney said last month it plans to cut $5.5 billion in costs, including $3 billion in content spend. Management also warned that its strong streaming growth would likely taper off in the future. Like many companies, Disney reported disappointing Q4 earnings. And who did they blame? You guessed it, the usual whipping boy, weakening macroeconomic conditions. I think that Wall Street analysts are getting tired of hearing that. Disney's streaming service Disney Plus lost $1.47 billion in Q3. But we should note that Disney Plus has accumulated 100 million subscribers in just 3 years since its inception. By way of comparison, Netflix took 20 years to build a subscriber base of 220 million. That the streaming business is overcrowded and fragmented. McCarthy said losses at Disney Plus will improve in 2023. Disney has traditionally been a very well-managed company. And, despite its losses, Disney Plus has shown excellent growth. If it truly becomes profitable in 2024, that will be a good outcome. Theme parks are just getting back on their feet after the pandemic. But have you checked entry prices to Disney theme parks lately? With the fragmentation of the streaming industry, consolidation must take place. So, Disney needs to decide whether it wants to be a buyer or a seller in that space. Given Disney's vast library of titles and ownership of ESPN, I would say that it needs to be a buyer. But, what do you think? Please leave us a comment below and hit the like button. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. Thank you for watching.